We often think morality is about rules. Do this. Do not do that. Be a good person. But the Verañjakasutta presents something more immediate. It begins with a question about destiny. Why do some people move toward suffering? And why do others move toward happiness? The answer is surprisingly simple. It depends on how they live. Adhammacharya, living contrary to Dhamma. Dhammakarya, living in accordance with Dhamma. But the discourse does not leave these words as abstractions. It opens them up. 3 ways through the body, 4 ways through speech, 3 ways through the mind, 10 directions in all. And suddenly morality becomes much closer to ordinary life. It is not merely about what we believe. It is about what we repeatedly do, how we speak, and what we cultivate in the mind. Consider the body. Killing, taking what has not been given. Sexual misconduct. These are not presented merely as forbidden acts. The discourse describes the disposition behind them. A person who kills is described as cruel and lacking compassion toward living beings. A person who steals takes what belongs to another. A person who engages in sexual misconduct crosses boundaries that should be respected. Then the direction changes. Refraining from killing, putting down violence, living with compassion toward living beings, refraining from taking what is not given, living with respect for what belongs to others, and refraining from sexual misconduct. The contrast is clear. The question is not simply, what am I allowed to do? It is, what kind of conduct am I cultivating? Then comes speech. 4 ways speech can become harmful. Lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle or pointless chatter. Again, these are ordinary things. A lie can seem small. A piece of gossip can feel harmless. A sharp remark can feel justified. A stream of meaningless words can fill an entire day. But speech does not disappear when the sound ends. It can divide people. It can wound. It can deceive. It can create confusion. The discourse therefore describes another way. Truthful speech. Speech that brings people together. Speech that is gentle. Speech that is timely, meaningful, and beneficial. Notice the standard. It is not silence. It is not simply speaking less. It is learning to speak in ways that do not create unnecessary harm. Then the discourse goes deeper, into the mind. 3 forms of mental conduct are identified. Abhijja, covetousness, wanting what belongs to another. Not merely seeing something desirable, but wishing, may that be mine. Then Byapada, ill will, a mind turned against others. May these beings be destroyed, may they not exist. And then Miccaditthi, wrong view, a distorted understanding of action and its consequences. Here something important happens. The teaching has moved beneath behavior. The body and speech are not the whole story. The mind matters too. Because an action can begin long before the body moves or the mouth speaks. It can begin as a way of seeing, as a desire, as an intention, as a direction of mind. This makes the discourse surprisingly relevant to modern life. We may never physically harm someone, but we can spend hours imagining their failure. We may never steal, but constantly compare ourselves with what others possess. We may speak politely, yet inwardly resent the person in front of us. Outward appearance can hide the direction of the mind. The sutta does not ignore that inner dimension. It includes it as part of Dhammakarya and Adhammakarya. Then comes the reversal. The harmful forms have their counterparts. Not killing becomes compassion. Not stealing becomes respect. Not sexual misconduct becomes restraint. Not lying becomes truthfulness. Not divisive speech becomes speech that creates harmony. Not harsh speech becomes gentleness. Not idle chatter becomes speech that is timely and meaningful. Covetousness gives way to freedom from wanting what belongs to others. Ill will gives way to a mind wishing beings well. Wrong view gives way to samadhi, right view. So the discourse is not merely a list of things to stop doing. It shows another way of living. And this is where the word Dhammakarya becomes important. It literally carries the sense of living or conducting oneself in accordance with Dhamma. It is a way of life, not a label, not an identity, not something we merely claim to believe. A person lives it through body, through speech, through mind. And then the discourse makes a striking connection. A person living this way may wish for a fortunate rebirth, perhaps among human beings of great standing, perhaps among different classes of devas, perhaps in progressively refined realms. The discourse repeatedly says, there is a possibility. Why? because that person is living in accordance with Dhamma. And then the discourse goes further. The aspiration can extend beyond fortunate rebirth. A person living this way may aspire to the destruction of the asavas, to an undefiled liberation of mind, to liberation through wisdom. Here the trajectory becomes much larger. Ethical conduct is not presented merely as a way to become respectable. It can be part of a movement toward liberation. This is important because morality can easily become external. We can become concerned with appearing good, with being seen as good, with following rules correctly. But the discourse points repeatedly to conduct. What is happening through the body? What is happening through speech? What is happening in the mind? And what direction is this creating? There is something almost architectural about it. Every action adds something. Every word adds something. Every intention adds something. A life is built from these repeated movements. And eventually, those movements have consequences. This does not mean that every moment is a final verdict. It means that conduct has direction. Just as a road takes us somewhere, repeated ways of acting take us somewhere. The question is whether we are paying attention to where the road leads. The people of Verañjakasutta originally ask a very large question. Why do beings end up in suffering? Why do others reach happiness? The answer does not begin with fate. It begins with conduct. Body, speech, mind, and then something deeper emerges. Where we go is connected with how we live, and how we live is connected with what we repeatedly cultivate. Perhaps that is why the discourse feels both simple and demanding. It does not ask us to construct a new identity. It asks us to look closely at the life already being lived. Look at the hands, look at the words, look at the mind, and then ask, which direction are they taking? Because a life is not shaped only by the destinations we hope for. It is shaped by the way we walk.